Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. The Ring of Destiny. Episode 7. Chapter 141. More than 300,000? Brother Bing has a watch. I have to work hard for 10 years. People are more dead than people, and goods are thrown away, we can't compare. Brother Bing has good looks and financial resources. Such a man is simply the best. Meow meow, when are you going to break up with Brother Bing? I'll make a reservation in advance. Even if I become Brother Bing's girlfriend for a day, I'm willing to, a group of people boasted and said jokingly. It made Lang Bing and Zhang Miao burst into laughter, and the feeling of being so envious of others is really great. I remember Brother Bing was with Wang Hanin before, why did they break up? Suddenly a long-haired girl in a dress said. This girl is also Wang Hanin's dormitory, her name is Wang Yushan, so she knows some things about Wang Hanin following Lang Bing. When Wang Yushan asked this question, no one was talking in an instant, and the atmosphere became awkward for a while. After all, Wang Hanin and Zhang Miao are roommates in the same dormitory, and now Zhang Miao is equivalent to robbing Wang Hanin's boyfriend. Seeing this coldly, a sad face suddenly appeared on his face, and he pretended to be reluctant to say, "It's hard to say, this is the last thing I don't want to mention, I have given so much affection to Wang Hanin, but she is not satisfied at all. In addition to spending money, I also like to go to bars, and in the end I went to the bar to become a dancer, I really can't stand it anymore." What Lang Bing said was very emotional, so that all the people looked at him with pity. It seems that Lang Bing still knows Wang Hanin very well, and even he knows Wang Hanin as a dancer. Why is this Wang Hanin like this? I didn't see it in school before, but she can go to a bar and be a dancer. Knowing people and faces but not hearts, looking at Wang Hanin is very pure, so she is such a woman. I'm so pitiful Brother Bing, such a good man, who was so kind to Wang Hanin back then, she didn't even know how to cherish it. I heard that Wang Hanin will also come to the class reunion, I really don't know where she got the courage. Brother Bing, that kind of person is not worth your sorrow for her. Now you and Miao Miao are a good match. Everyone accused Wang Hanin and comforted Lang Bing. There were tears in Lang Bing's eyes, and he nodded slightly. Fortunately, I have met Miao Miao now, so that my wounded heart has a place to rely on. I have to say that Lang Bing's acting skills are top-notch, and he instantly pulled everyone to his side, all accusing Wang Hanin. At this time, Wang Hanin didn't know that she had already become the target of public criticism before she arrived. Hey, I lived with Wang Hanin for 3 years, and I didn't even know she was this kind of person. Wang Yushan curled H3R lips, no wonder she finds a labor prisoner as her boyfriend now. As soon as Wang Yushan's voice fell, everyone was in a frenzy, looking at Wang Yushan in disbelief. Wang Yushan, who did you listen to? Is it unreliable? Zhang Meng hurriedly asked Wang Yushan. I also heard what Wu Yifan said. We talked on the phone last night. She told me that Wang Hanin had found a prisoner who had just come out of prison to be her boyfriend. I was surprised at the time, but now Wang Hanin is even a dancer. A labor prisoner is not bad. Wang Yushan said. After Zhang Miao heard this, she burst into laughter. She was thinking that if Wang Hanin brought her boyfriend, she would definitely humiliate Wang Hanin. And Lang Bing inadvertently raised the corner of his mouth after hearing that Wang Hanin had found a boyfriend of a labor prisoner. At this moment, Wu Yifan and Wang Hanin arrived, pushed open the door and walked in, followed by David. Hello everyone, long time no see. After Wu Yifan entered the door, he greeted everyone. Hello everyone, Wang Hanan also smiled and said hello to everyone, but when she saw Lang Bing, her eyes dodged, and she didn't dare to look directly at Lang Bing. Wang Hanan was afraid that she couldn't help it for a while and became angry with Lang Bing. After all, this Lang Bing hurt her very badly, but this was a class reunion, and Wang Hanan didn't want to screw it up. Seeing Wang Hanan seeing Lang Bing's eyes dodging, this made everyone believe Lang Bing's words even more. Wang Hanan must have done something sorry for Lang Bing, which is why he behaved like this. Wu Yifan said hello to Wang Hanan, and found that everyone looked at Wang Hanan with strange eyes, and both of them were a little confused. Wang Hanan, I didn't expect you to be such a person, and you dare to come to the alumni reunion, I really see you wrong. At this time, Wang Yushan said to Wang Hanan angrily. This time, Wang Hanan was directly confused, she didn't understand what Wang Yushan was talking about. Wang Yushan, where did Hanan provoke you? The old classmates haven't seen you for many years. Why do you say such things when you meet? Wu Yifan stepped forward and questioned Wang Yushan. But when Wang Yushan was about to speak, Lang Bing stood up. Okay, let's not talk about the past, today we are all here to drink and talk about feelings, no one should make it unpleasant, Lang Bing spoke, but Wang Yushan didn't speak. Baffling, Wu Yifan pulled Wang Hanan to find a seat, and David sat down beside Wang Hanan unceremoniously. Seeing David, everyone looked up and down, with playfulness and contempt in their eyes. Hanan, who is this man? This is our class reunion, isn't it bad to bring outsiders? Zhang Miao spoke first and asked Wang Hanan. She asked this on purpose, and she wanted to see how Wang Hanan answered. Wang Hanan looked at David, opened his mouth but didn't know how to introduce David. If David is his boyfriend, the two have no established relationship at all. But if you are talking about your own friends, it's not appropriate to bring your friends on occasions like class reunions. Hello everyone, my name is David Chen, I'm Hanan's boyfriend. David got up generously and introduced himself with a slight smile. Seeing David's explanation, Wang Hanan's face instantly showed joy. He nodded towards Zhang Miao and said, "This is my boyfriend." Zhang Miao glanced at David, and asked with some contempt in his eyes, "What does your boyfriend do?" "We work as a salesperson for a company," Wang Hanan said truthfully. "Being a salesperson? That should be a lot of commission, right?" "Now I heard that salespersons make a lot of money," Zhang Miao continued to ask. It seemed that he wanted to find out David's details. I don't know either, we just went to work for a few days." Wang Hanan said with an expression on her face, she didn't want to deal with this Zhang Miao. But the more Wang Hanan didn't want to pay attention to Zhang Miao became more and more complacent, and still asked Wang Hanan reluctantly, "Then what did your boyfriend do before he became a salesperson?" Zhang Miao just wanted to force Wang Hanan to tell David's imprisonment, so as to embarrass Wang Hanan. Wang Hanan didn't speak this time, because she didn't know how to answer. After all, David was just released from prison, so she couldn't say it directly, that would definitely be ridiculed by everyone, and David was also very shameless. "Why are you embarrassed to say it? They are all old classmates. There is nothing ashamed. If your boyfriend's work is not going well, we can all help introduce him. But before introducing, you have to get to know him first." Although Zhang Miao said it nicely, she obviously didn't want to introduce David to a good job, she just wanted to make Wang Hanan look ugly. "Zhang Miao, are you checking the huqiao? If you ask questions, let's serve and eat." In order not to embarrass Wang Hanan, Wu Yifan hurriedly said to Zhang Miao. But Zhang Miao didn't give up, and looked at Wang Hanan, who was embarrassed, and said, "Hanan, your boyfriend's previous work is still kept secret? Is there something you can't say, such as being in prison? In Zhang Miao's words, it was even clear. Hearing Zhang Miao say this, Wang Hanan was surprised. She never told anyone about this matter. Why would Zhang Miao know about it? At this time, Wang Hanan looked at Wu Yifan, because only Wu Yifan knew about David's imprisonment last night. Wu Yifan was also surprised, and finally put his eyes on Wang Yushan. His eyes were full of anger. Wang Yushan, are you chewing your tongue? Wu Yifan told Wang Yushan last night, and now Zhang Miao knows it too. That must be what Wang Yushan said. Wu Yifan, why is this talking nonsense? I'm just speaking from facts. Wang Yushan didn't defend herself, she just admitted it. This made Wu Yifan angry, and at the same time, Wu Yifan was also a little worried. Because of her job as a young lady, Wang Yushan also knew that if she was stabbed at this time, she would be really shameless. Wu Yifan was afraid of angering Wang Yushan, and she also shook out her own affairs, so she stopped talking. Hanan, it's not a hard thing to say that your boyfriend has been in prison, why don't you tell me? We don't discriminate against him, your current status is a good match for your boyfriend, a dancer, a labor prisoner, a match made in heaven, ha ha ha. After Zhang Miao finished speaking, everyone burst into laughter, and the ridicule in their eyes showed without protection. Wang Hanan's face was flushed with anger. She didn't want to come. She knew that she would be ridiculed by everyone when she participated in this class reunion. Now, in this situation, she didn't have the courage to stay. Wang slowly got up and wanted to leave, but was stopped by David. Hanan, I haven't eaten yet, why are you leaving? Let's talk after dinner. Yeah, I'm just joking with you. As for being angry, look at how aggressive your boyfriend is. This is a regal hotel. If you don't have this class reunion, I'm afraid you'll never want to eat here for the rest of your life. If you're afraid if you don't have the money to take your share, you can tell me, I'll help you out. 108,000 is nothing to me, Zhang Miao said to Wang Hanan with a sneer. Zhang Miao said this, Wang Hanan can't leave now. If he leaves now, it proves that he is afraid of spending money to leave. No need, we still have this money. David smiled slightly. Well, since you have money, then I don't have to worry about it. I'm really afraid that after dinner, if there is another evasion, it will be a shame. Zhang Miao said, and then looked at Lang Bing and said. Brother Bing, didn't you say that you have booked the banquet in advance? Let them go. No problem. Lang Bing smiled slightly, I booked a banquet of 58,008 this time, excluding the drinks. The drinks were brought by myself from Mao Tai. We counted a dozen of us, and each of us couldn't spend 10,000. 8,000, I'll let them serve now. After speaking coldly, after making a phone call, the private room door was quickly pushed open, and one by one exquisite dishes were brought up. It's just that these people looked at the table full of dishes, and no one had a happy expression. After all, they had just started working not long ago, and many people had no savings at all. After eating 18,000 in this meal, they would feel distressed. Give money. Lang Bing looked at everyone's expressions, and the corners of his mouth raised slightly. Although this meal doesn't cost much today, I know that many people are not rich now. You just need to call me Brother Bing and toast me with a glass of wine. I'll pay for you. After Lang Bing finished speaking, he looked at Wang Hanan and David. It was obvious that Lang Bing's proposal was aimed at them both. Brother Bing is mighty, I will respect you first. As soon as the voice fell, someone immediately raised a wine glass and toasted a cold glass. Soon, they all toasted Lang Bing with their faces flattering. In the end, only Wang Hanin, David, and Wu Yifan were left. Yifan, won't you give Brother Bing a toast? Wang Yushan asked. $18,000, I still have it. Wu Yifan's meaning is obvious, she would rather pay for the money herself than toast Lang Bing. What kind of big money are you pretending to be? 18,000 yuan, how many times do you have to sleep to earn it? For your own good, I don't appreciate it, Wang Yushan rolled her eyes and said. This sentence, like a thunderbolt from the blue, suddenly exploded, and everyone looked at Wu Yifan. And Wu Yifan's face was ashen, feeling the eyes of everyone, and even got the feeling of getting into a mouse hole. Wang Yushan, what the H3LL are you talking about? Believe it or not, I'll kill you. Wu Yifan stood up abruptly, holding a wine bottle in his hand. Wu Yifan, keep your mouth clean. Who's talking nonsense? Don't you know what you did yourself? Wang Yushan is not to be outdone. Wu Yifan was trembling with gas from the bottle, and the bottle in his hand was about to be thrown at Wang Yushan. She regretted it now, she took Wang Yushan as her sister, but the other party betrayed her. This is Zhang Miao getting up, grabbing the wine bottle from Wu Yifan's hand, and roaring with a cold face, what are you two making a fuss about? I'm the one who arranged this class reunion today. Are you two making trouble like this? My face? If this is the case, the two of you will get out of my way. Zhang Miao relied on Lang Bing as his boyfriend, so he regarded himself as the leader. But after such a roar, Wang Yushan didn't dare to speak, and Wu Yifan sat back with tears in his angry eyes. It's just that everyone looked at Wu Yifan with a bit of enthusiasm, especially those male classmates. After all, Wu Yifan is quite good looking. Now they may only spend a few hundred yuan to sleep with Wu Yifan for one night. After this incident, Wu Yifan kept his head down and didn't say a word. Come on, let's all eat together, you can't eat such a good thing normally. Zhang Miao ignored Wu Yifan and said to the crowd. Everyone started to eat lively, no one cared about Wu Yifan, only Wang Hanin kept comforting Wu Yifan, but Wu Yifan still didn't say a word. Everyone pushed the cups for a change, while David just took care of his own meals. No one paid any attention to him, and he didn't pay any attention to anyone. Looking at David coldly, he raised a glass of wine and said, Brother David, why do you only eat vegetables and not drink? Do you want to eat your portion back? Don't hold back, ha 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 ha. As soon as the cold voice fell, everyone burst into laughter. David wiped his mouth with a tissue, and said without the slightest anger, this wine is too bad, I'm not used to drinking it. David said a word, everyone was stunned. This wine is Mao Tai, a bottle of several thousand yuan. David actually said that he is not used to drinking it. He sneered coldly, you are not used to drinking this Mao Tai, what do you want to drink? You don't need to spend money on this wine. If you choose another wine, you will also pay for it. It doesn't matter if it's money or not, it's mainly because I drink too much wine and cough, David said lightly. I'm just kidding, they are so arrogant, I haven't heard of anyone coughing after drinking alcohol. A prisoner of labor reform, what are you pretending to be? I don't think you have ever drunk Mao Tai. I really can't listen anymore, hot ears. When everyone heard David's words, they all roared angrily. That Zhang Miao also smiled disdainfully, and then said to Wang Hanin, Hanin, look at the boyfriend you've found, it's really a weird one, even if you're poor, you still pretend to be rich. Wang Hanin ignored Zhang Miao, but she also didn't understand what happened to David today. Brother David, if I'm not mistaken, you came from Chang'an, right? These few bottles of wine can probably buy you a car. What else do you think you are wearing? Asked coldly with a sneer. After Lang Bing said this, everyone discovered that David had a car key of Chang'an car hanging on his waist. It's just to support domestic production, there is Bentley, I don't like to drive it, David said lightly. Lin Tianhu's Bentley, David drives it whenever he wants, the entire Jiatang is his own, not to mention a car. Puff. Lang Bing just took a sip of water, and when he heard David's words, he sprayed it out. Ha ha ha, I have lived so much, and I have never seen such a calm bragging. You are also a wizard. You still have Bentley? I don't think you have even seen what Bentley looks like, right? Lang Bing laughed out loud, and laughed so hard. The others also laughed, leaning back and forth, and some even burst into tears. Compared to you, I'm even worse. I've never seen a girl who cheated on her for money, and she can still pretend to have a dinner so calmly. David said with a cold smile. When Lang Bing heard David's words, the smile on his face disappeared instantly, replaced by a gloomy face. What are you talking about? I don't understand. The cold eyes narrowed slightly and looked at David. What I said, you understand in your heart that you know better than me whether you have cheated money or not. David also stared at the cold eyes without showing weakness. The eyes of the two people collided, and the atmosphere in the entire private room instantly became tense. What nonsense are you talking about? Brother Bing costs hundreds of thousands of dollars for a watch, how could it be possible to deceive people? Zhang Miao shouted at David loudly. In Zhang Miao's mind, Lang Bing is an ideal man with wealth and wealth. How could such a wealthy person deceive other people's money? Yes, Brother Bing's family has a watch. I'm afraid you can't afford it with all your wealth. You don't have to spray blood here. Wang Yushan also said to David. Obviously no one believed David's words, and none of them believed that Lang Bing would deceive people. It's just a fake watch, and it's worth showing off. David smiled coldly. From the moment he entered the door, David found out that the cold watch was fake. Now David only needs to send out his spiritual power to test it out. Fake? Everyone looked at Lang Bing, even Wang Hanin, who had been comforting Wu Yifan, couldn't help but look at the gold watch on Lang Bing's wrist. There was a trace of panic in the cold eyes, and then he burst into anger. You are talking nonsense, my gold watch is imported from Switzerland, have you ever seen a gold watch? You dare to think it is fake? David, forget it if you are jealous of Brother Bing, why do you say his watch is fake? Isn't it just a few $100,000? Brother Bing doesn't have money, so why wear a fake one? With more than 1 million Mercedes-S, you wouldn't say his car is fake, right? Zhang Miao questioned David. Brother Bing's identity, how could he wear a fake watch? When I was in school, I heard that Brother Bing was very rich, how could it be possible to wear a fake watch? Mourning for misfortune, anger for not arguing, if you don't have it, you say that others are fake. What kind of psychology do you have? After listening to Zhang Miao's questioning, everyone blamed David. Wang Yushan also glared at David and said, you don't even look at this gold watch, so you say it's fake. It's obvious that you're jealous, whether you can't bear it when you see that your girlfriend's former boyfriend is stronger than you. I'm just telling the truth. David smiled lightly. Bah! Wang Yushan sighed, you are just jealous, if you have the ability, you can show evidence. David, you and I only met today, what do you mean by targeting me everywhere? Seeing so many people talking for him, believing in himself, Lang Bing suddenly said with a cold face, if you don't tell me about this matter, I'll let you go out sideways, do you believe it? Okay. David sneered, is it a fake watch? You know best, now since you are looking for humiliation yourself, don't blame me. David said, stood up and said, give me your watch, and I will prove it to you. How do you want to prove it? Lang Bing shrank his hand, and instead of giving David a watch, he asked vigilantly, my watch is hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you break it, can you pay for it? Lang Bing will not give the watch to David. After all, Lang Bing knows that the watch is fake, he is just creating the identity of a rich man. It's very simple, as long as you drop it on the ground, you can argue whether it's true or false. David said lightly. As long as the gold watch is broken, you can see it right away. The movement of the gold watch is made of gold, and it is impossible for you to imitate the movement exactly the same. You want to drop my watch? Hearing Lang Bing, he felt guilty. David, this watch costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you dropped it for me, can you afford it? Lang Bing will not let David fall, this watch is fake, and it will be revealed once it is dropped. Yes, can you afford to pay? You dare to drop a watch worth hundreds of thousands on the ground. What kind of identification method is this? If you don't have that ability, don't brag about it. I thought you really knew how to distinguish between true and false. Everyone criticized and ridiculed David. David smiled and said, there is a way to tell the difference without falling. To know that gold is different from other metals, just weigh the watch and compare it with the official website. The fake watch is real, and the weight cannot be faked. After all, the weight of gold is different from other metal materials. As soon as everyone heard it, this is a way, and there is no need to damage the watch. You weigh it when you say it. A trace of panic flashed in Lang Bing's eyes, he wouldn't know how to weigh, after all, he also knew that there was no way to fake this weight. David, you are jealous of Brother Bing, saying that his watch is fake. If it's not fake, what would you do? You can't just say it, Brother Bing will listen to your arrangements. Zhang Miao asked David. If this watch is true, I will pay for the meal myself. David said confidently. This watch is fake, David has full confidence. When everyone heard this, they all looked at Lang Bing. Brother Bing, let him say that. Since he dares to say that, then let him give up, and we can eat a meal for free. Lang Bing was a little panicked at this time, and cold sweat began to appear on his forehead. He never imagined that David was holding onto his watch. This watch needs a precise weighing instrument, but we don't have it now. How to weigh it? Can you know it by weighing it with your hands? Asked coldly. Well, since you are right, there is no weighing instrument now, but do you dare to show me your watch? I only need to take a look. David laughed. What do you want? Did you fall for me? Asked Lang Bing vigilantly. No, I will never damage it. If it is damaged a little, no matter whether your watch is genuine or not, I will pay you the real price. David shook his head. He didn't need to drop a cold watch, he just said that he would know the truth if he dropped it, but he was just teasing the cold. Just show it to you. Lang Bing knew that if he didn't show David, he was afraid that David would be unkind, so he took off his watch and handed it to David, and then said, so many people have watched it. If you fall for me, then pay me the original price. Lang Bing believes that if David is not broken, and if it is not weighed, it is impossible to tell the authenticity of this gold watch. After all, this is a high imitation. A watchmaster can do it. He doesn't believe that David can see it at a glance. David took Lang Bing's gold watch, and after playing with it for a while, he handed it back to Lang Bing. That's it. Lang Bing took his watch and looked at David with a puzzled expression. Just look at it and you'll know if it's true or not. Yes, I just need to take a look. David nodded. Humph, pretending to be a ghost, with a cold snort, he put the watch back on. Just as everyone was waiting for David to show evidence, Zhang Miao suddenly screamed. Brother Bing, you, look at your watch. Lang Bing was stunned for a moment, hurriedly looked at the watch, and the whole person was stunned. Many classmates were all puzzled, and looked at the cold golden watch. At a glance, they were all stunned. I saw the gold watch on Lang Bing's hand. At this time, it has long lost its golden luster and turned into the color of red copper. It is obvious that the pieces on it have faded. Looking at it like this gold watch must be fake. How can real gold fade? Everyone looked at Lang Bing, their eyes were weird, and the atmosphere was very embarrassing. The imitation of this watch is too bad, I lost my gold powder. David picked up a wet towel and wiped it, the corners of his mouth raised slightly. The cold face is gloomy and uncertain, not to mention how ugly it is. On the other hand, Zhang Miao looked at Lang Bing in shock, not knowing what to say. Originally aloof and arrogant and cold, at this time, his face felt hot, and he didn't dare to look at the people around him. Brother Bing, you were not cheated by your friends, how did you buy a fake watch from Switzerland? Someone couldn't help but ask. This time, it was a reminder of Lang Bing. Lang Bing was instantly overjoyed, then raised his head and said, "It must be that guy who lied to me. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy me a fake watch. If I catch him, I will definitely not spare him." Speaking coldly, the gold watch in his hand slammed to the ground and shattered. However, some people looked at Lang Bing, but there was no trust in their eyes. Obviously, this Lang Bing was pretending to be a fake. These liars are so hateful. Isn't it just a watch worth 300,000? Brother Bing will definitely not fake it. You must know that Brother Bing has driven a car worth more than 1 million, so you can buy a fake watch to pretend to be forced. Zhang Miao stood on the side of Lang Bing at this time, defending Lang Bing. Lang Bing also took the opportunity to put his Mercedes car key on the table to show his identity. Who knows if the car is rented? David sneered at this time. In fact, many people also have this idea. After all, the cold gold watch is fake, so this Mercedes car may also be rented. After all, if you rent it for a day, it will not cost much. Art, how could it be rented? I've seen Brother Bing drive this car for a long time, and it's not just today. Zhang Miao scolded David angrily. Is it rented? Can't you find out if you bring the driving license? David said. As long as you bring the driving license, you will know at a glance whether it has a cold name on it. Zhang Miao looked at Lang Bing, and seemed to want Lang Bing to bring his driving license so that David would shut up. Lang Bing hurriedly said, "I have to go to the car to get it, it's too troublesome, don't you just want to see if I really have this ability? I'll order a watch online again now, I'm not used to wearing it without a watch." With that said, Lang Bing directly ordered a watch worth more than 200,000 online in front of everyone. And the payment is successful, just waiting for the delivery. This time, everyone's envious eyes returned again, and they all believed that Lang Bing was really powerful, and the fake watch must have been deceived. Lang Bing also let out a long sigh, and his status as a local tyrant was finally preserved. David looked at Lang Bing and smiled lightly. Online orders can be returned, and after tonight, Lang Bing can completely return without losing a penny. However, David didn't get it through, he still wanted to play along with this Lang Bing. The matter of the gold watch was just an episode, and it did not affect Lang Bing's identity in the eyes of everyone. He looked at David coldly, with provocation in his eyes. He knew that this guy David just wanted to make himself look bad, but now he not only didn't make a fool of himself, but everyone's attitude towards him became more and more respectful. You just said that you are not poor in money, and you are not used to drinking Mao Tai. What kind of wine do you want to drink? This regal hotel has all kinds of wine, but it depends on whether you can afford it. Lang Bing was almost thrown by David, and now he wants to return it. How about the brandy? David looked at Lang Bing with a sneer, and his eyes were also provocative. Do you dare to drink it? I'm afraid you bought the watch with all the money, and you won't have the money to pay the bill in a while. Lang Bing was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect David to choose such an expensive wine. To know that a bottle of brandy starts at 200,000. The others also looked at David in surprise, and the expressions on their faces were incredible. Brother David, Wang Hanin gently pulled the corner of David's shirt. She has been in a bar and knows the price of brandy. This bottle is only a few $100,000. Even if they only take one share, that's not a lot. Seeing Wang Hanin's expression, Lang Bing suddenly laughed. He knew that David was pretending to be coercive and deliberately said such expensive wine to scare him. The brandy is good. I've had it a few times. If you want to drink it, let's have a few bottles. Lang Bing gave David the right to choose. He wanted to see if David dared to say that he wanted to drink it. At this time, everyone looked at David with a sneer in their eyes. They thought that David would not dare to ask for it. This time, David shot himself in the foot. Okay. David nodded. Waiter, 5 bottles of brandy. David did not give Lang Bing another chance to refuse, and shouted directly to the service staff. Seeing that David ordered 5 bottles of brandy in one go, everyone was shocked. That Lang Bing was also startled, and instinctively wanted to stop it, but he quickly reacted. He thought that David must still be stimulating him. Even if he asked for 5 bottles of brandy, if he didn't open it, he didn't need to spend any money. Monies. Thinking of this, Lang Bing finally breathed a sigh of relief, secretly glad that he almost fell for David. 5 bottles are too few, come 10 bottles, he looked at David coldly and playfully. Since David can play like this, he will too. Anyway, you don't have to open it in the end, you can just go back when the time comes. Damn it, I've never had one before. Brother Bing actually asked for 10 bottles. Brother Bing is awesome, look, this is really a local tyrant. What kind of coercion is David pretending to be? A labor reform prisoner, the clothes he wears are not worth 200 yuan, and he says that he drinks brandy? Bah, when you pretend to be a real local tyrant, it may be today's scene. Just wait and see how this David ends. Everyone looked at David with fascination, they wanted to see how David ended. At this time, Wang Hanin was frightened. 10 bottles of brandy would be 2 million. Even if she and David counted one share, it would cost nearly 200,000, and a meal would cost 200,000. If my parents knew about this, they would definitely be killed. Brother David, forget it, Wang Hanin looked nervous and persuaded David in a low voice. Seeing Wang Hanin like that, Lang Bing suddenly laughed and looked at David with a playful look on his face. Boy, it's too late for you to regret it now, as you are now, I'm afraid you won't be able to take out 20,000, right? Drinking brandy, you can't brag like you do, regret. David raised his mouth slightly, what do you regret? Isn't it just drinking a few bottles of brandy, and it's not that you haven't had one. What is there to regret? If you regret it, you can call the waiter back now, ha ha ha, what a joke, how could I regret it, 1 or 2 million is nothing in my eyes, he laughed coldly, but he cursed David secretly in his heart, he wanted to see how long David could hold it, and when the wine was brought, David would definitely not be able to hold it any longer. Soon, the waiter brought 10 bottles of brandy to the table. Everyone looked at the brandy in front of them, and their eyes were green. They had never drunk such expensive wine. "Sir, do you need to open it?" The waiter looked at Lang Bing and asked. Lang Bing was stunned for a moment, then looked at David and said, "David, open it. If the wine is opened, there is no room for regret." Lang Bing is forcing David to compromise. He knows that David is pretending to be forced, and he will definitely not let the wine open. Lang Bing didn't want to open it, after all, he didn't have that much money for a meal of more than 1 million. David smiled coldly, and then said to the waiter, "Please open all the wine." "Okay, sir." The waiter opened a bottle of brandy with a bang. This time Lang Bing was dumbfounded. He didn't expect David to actually let the waiter open the wine. Bang! Another bottle of wine was opened by the waiter. Every time the sound of the bottle was opened, it was like a sledgehammer hitting his cold heart, which made him feel distressed. Soon, cold sweat broke out on Lang Bing's forehead. "David, this is the Regal Hotel, the Sui family's property, don't even think about cheating and escaping the bill in the end, that's impossible." Lang Bing threatened David, and he hoped that David could stop the waiter from opening the wine at this time. "I didn't think about escaping the order. Are you worried about the money? If that's the case, you can tell the waiter not to open the wine now." David looked at Lang Bing with a sneer on his face and asked, "How can I feel bad for money? I can't earn a month's pocket money for a year." How could Lang Bing stop him at this time? Wouldn't he slap himself in the face? He wanted these 10 bottles of brandy. But seeing that 10 bottles of wine have been opened, blood is dripping from the cold heart. "I still feel like drinking this wine." David picked up a bottle of brandy, poured himself a big glass, and then drank it. Seeing David drinking like this, he glanced coldly and disdainfully, and then said to everyone, "Everyone drink together, don't let someone drink it all," as if you've never seen wine before. When everyone heard it, they all picked up the bottles and poured themselves wine. Even Wang Yushan and Zhang Miao, who didn't drink, poured themselves a big glass. "You must know that this is hundreds of thousands of bottles of wine. Drink, I am afraid that I will never have a chance to drink it in my life." Wang Hanan didn't drink, but was still comforting Wu Yifan. The blow this time seemed to be so big to Wu Yifan that she kept lying on the table silently. Lang Bing watched everyone drink wine, and he was secretly relieved. He had already thought about it. When he paid the bill later, he would not take the money by himself. He could pay for the meal by himself, but all the wine was if you drink it, you have to pay for it. Let him pay for more than 1 million by himself, but he won't be the one to take advantage of. But everyone still doesn't know what Lang Bing is thinking, and they are still touting to Lang Bing. "If it wasn't for Brother Bing today, I'm afraid I would never be able to drink such a good wine in my life. No, Brother Bing is too awesome, a meal of more than 1 million, without blinking an eye." Some people are just beyond their own power, and they want to compete with Brother Bing, without looking at how much they weigh, and David ignored the ridicule of these people at all, because he knew that it was time for these people to cry. Soon, 10 bottles of brandy were eaten, everyone was full, and a few were already dizzy. "I've had the wine and the food, let's go too," David said to Wang Hanan. Wang Hanan nodded, helped Wu Yifan up, and walked out of the private room. Seeing this, Lang Bing hurriedly followed the crowd out. He wanted to see what David paid for, but don't pay the bill in the end. "How much did we spend in total?" Lang Bing walked to the front desk and asked. "Sir, you have spent a total of 2.1 million. The cashier at the front desk said quickly. Nodding coldly, then he took out his mobile phone and calculated, and said to David, David, there are 14 of us, and each of us consumes 150,000. The three of you, you only need to pay 450,000 now. Kin, 450,000, not much, David smiled lightly. David, at this time, you are still pretending to be forceful. It's not much 450,000, but you take it out. What are you waiting for? Zhang Miao sneered. I don't think it's worth 450,000 to buy him. He really treats himself as a big money. Wang Yushan also mocked David. Everyone else was also waiting to see David's joke. They wanted to see how David came up with the 450,000. They must know that an ordinary wage earner might not be able to save 450,000 in 10 years. At this time, Wang Hanin looked at David anxiously. She had no money. Where did she get the 450,000? And Wu Yifan, who had been bowing his head and said nothing, slowly raised his head and said, I still have 200,000 in my hand, I can take it out. After all, Wu Yifan himself had a share of the meal, so David could not be allowed to spend money, and she had to call Wang Hanin to come, but it turned out like this. What's more, she knew that David had no money, and it didn't take long for her to get out of prison, and her family was not a wealthy family, so the 450,000 might be an astronomical figure for David. Wu Yifan, what are you pretending to be a rich woman? Do you know how many times you will sell the 200,000? You should have pity on yourself first. When Zhang Miao saw that Wu Yifan was going to pay, he immediately said mockingly. You? When Wu Yifan heard this, his face flushed with anger. Soon, Wu Yifan's eyes suddenly darkened, and he fainted out of anger. Yifan, Yifan, seeing this, Wang Hanin hurriedly supported Wu Yifan and shouted. David stepped forward and tapped Wu Yifan's wrist lightly, knowing that Wu Yifan was just in a hurry, and he would be fine in a while, so he said to Wang Hanin, Hanin, take her home first, I will handle it here. Brother David, this money, don't worry about it, I have a way, let's send her back quickly, David said firmly. Wang Hanin looked at David, and then at Wu Yifan, who had fainted, and finally had to send Wu Yifan away. David, you let them go ahead of time. Are you planning to break the jar and break the bill directly? Lang Bing asked David. Delinquent. David smiled lightly, I don't have any debts at all, where did the delinquents come from? You haven't paid the 450,000 for your meal. How can you not pay? Do you think the hotel will let you go if you don't pay? He snorted coldly. I don't need to spend money to eat anywhere, how can I have an account? Did you make a mistake? David raised his eyebrows and said. You don't have to act stupid here, so many people are watching, and there are so many service staff in the hotel, do you want to eat the king's meal? Don't think that you feel very good just after you came out of prison. Now, this is the Sui family's property, if you want to eat Ba Wang's meal here, you are making a big mistake. Lang Bing thought that David, relying on his identity as a prisoner of labor reform, wanted to eat the overlord meal. I don't eat Ba Wang meal, you can ask the hotel, do I need to pay for my meal? David said with a smile. Lang Bing looked at David with a puzzled face, and finally looked at the front desk and asked, this guy wants to eat Ba Wang's meal and won't pay, what are you going to do? Hello, this gentleman, Mr. Chen doesn't need to spend money to eat here, the lady at the front desk said very politely. In a word, it was like 5 thunders hitting the top, and Lang Bing was stunned on the spot. Even the others were surprised. They couldn't understand why David could eat here without spending money. Why? Why doesn't he have to spend money? Lang Bing asked incredulously. I don't need to explain to you that for the 2.1 million you spent, excluding the 450,000 from Mr. Chen and the others, you still need to pay 1.65 million. Is it a credit card or a transfer? The lady at the front desk said humbly. This time, Lang Bing is completely stupid. He really can't understand, what is David's identity? How can he eat at the Regal Hotel without spending money? Zhang Miao and Wang Yushan also looked at David incredulously. They really wanted to see David through. You don't spend so much money on cheating women. You can give 1.65 million meals now. David looked at Lang Bing with a sneer, with disdain and contempt in his eyes. Feeling David's eyes coldly, he suddenly understood, you fucking cheat me. David doesn't need to spend money to eat here. Of course, he can order expensive wine and drink, but Lang Bing doesn't know, he even pretends to be stupid and compares with David, and this time he is trapped by David. It's just cheating on you, what can you do? David admitted without hesitation. From the beginning, he planned to pit this coldness. Sir, please pay the money, the front desk urged Lang Bing. Lang Bing was already trembling slightly with anger at this time. How can he have so much money now, but if he directly asks these people to contribute money, the character design he has worked so hard to manage will collapse. Swipe your card. The front desk took the card and quickly returned it and said, your card balance is not enough. Lang Bing pretended to take the card back and said, impossible, there is a payment of 2 million that is due today, haven't you called yet? At this time, everyone looked at Lang Bing, and their foreheads began to sweat. They were really afraid that Lang Bing would have no money, and finally let them put the money together. This is more than 1 million, and they will take more than 100,000 alone. Who has so much money? Brother Bing, what should I do then? Zhang Miao asked Lang Bing anxiously. Well, I didn't get the payment for the goods today. Everyone put the money together. When my payment arrives, I'll pay you back. Lang Bing turned his head and said to everyone. Yes, let's all make it together. Brother Bing is because the payment for the goods has not been received. I will ask Brother Bing to return it to everyone later. Zhang Miao also helped Lang Bing explain. When everyone heard it, they all gasped, and the things they were worried about finally came. I only have $1,000 on me, I don't have any money, I haven't paid the bills yet. I have 10,000 on me, but that's not enough, everyone can't make up 180,000, and it is too far behind to follow more than 1 million. At this time, David sat on the sofa in the lobby. Someone had prepared a fruit plate for him, and then he looked at Lang Bing and their eagerness while eating the fruit. If you don't have money, you can't leave here. The lady at the front desk froze her face, and then picked up the walkie-talkie. Attention from the security department, someone wants to eat Ba Wang's meal. In a word, they all startled Lang Bing. This is a rich hotel, and if you dare to eat a king's meal here, that is courting death. Soon, more than a dozen security guards came over with weapons aggressively, and surrounded them all. Where have these people seen this kind of battle? They have long been scared to death. All of them looked at Lang Bing, and now they can only count on Lang Bing. Looking at the security guard who was staring at him coldly, he was also very frightened, and his face changed color. Brother Bing, didn't you come here in a Mercedes S? You should put the car here first. Yes, you put the car here first, and then pay the bill when the payment arrives. We really have no money, unlike Brother Bing, you are a big boss, what is more than 1 million? Everyone paid attention, and at the same time touted Lang Bing. Lang Bing looked embarrassed at this time, and finally said helplessly, My car is rented, I can't press it here." When Lang Bing's words came out, everyone was stunned, even Zhang Miao looked at Lang Bing in disbelief. Just now David said that the cold car was rented, and none of them believed it, but now they have been slapped in the face. This time, everyone fell into a panic. If this Lang Bing is a pseudo-rich, then the money will finally be let them out. Since you can't take the money, don't blame us for being rude. The front desk saw that these people couldn't take the money, so he said, "Take all these people to the back and let the manager deal with them, don't influence them here." Business. Seeing this, more than a dozen security guards, armed with weapons, will go forward and arrest these people behind. This time, these people were frightened, and Lang Bing was also frightened and hurriedly said, I give money, I only give my own money, let me go." It has already arrived at this time, and Lang Bing will not continue to force it for the sake of face. Seeing that Lang Bing left them alone, everyone was dumbfounded. And that Zhang Miao hurriedly grabbed Lang Bing's hand. "Brother Bing, you take the money for me too." "Go away, where do I have so much money?" Lang Bing threw off Zhang Miao's hand. Now he just wants to escape from here as soon as possible. If he is caught behind, he might even be beaten. This time, Zhang Miao was stunned and looked at Lang Bing in disbelief. She didn't expect Lang Bing to be such a person. "You must settle all the money before you can leave. You only pay yourself and you cannot leave." The front desk refused to be cold. When Lang Bing heard it, he was stunned. It seemed that none of them would want to leave without spending more than 1 million. "What are you pretending to be without money? It turns out to be a fake rich man. It's really bad, I don't have money to drink what the H3LL brandy. More than 1 million, where can I get it?" Everyone cursed Lang Bing and Zhang Miao in indignation. If it wasn't for the two of them, how could things be like this? "David, please talk to me, let me go first, and I'll make up the money later." At this time, after Wang Yushan saw David with a comfortable face, she walked over and said in a low voice, "No matter what David's status is, if he can make the Regal Hotel exempt from bills, his status must not be low. If he wants to leave, it seems that he can only ask David." When everyone saw this, they also surrounded David. "Just say something nice for us, how can we say that we are all Hanin's classmates? We were all wrong just now. We were deceived by Lang Bing and that tch Zhang Miao. Lang Bing is a sanctimonious hypocrite. It seems that his cheating of Hanin's money must be true. No wonder Hanin broke up with him. David, please help us, everyone is begging for David." David got up, looked around at everyone, and then raised his mouth. "Are you also worthy of being Hanin's classmates? It's really unfortunate that Hanin can have classmates like you. I can let you go with just one sentence, but I won't say that such an end is your retribution." David's words made everyone's faces burn hot, and they were all ashamed. "Take it all down." Upon seeing this, the front desk said directly to the security guard, "Ah, no, I don't want to go, help, help, woohoo." As soon as they were taken away, some people started to cry and howl, and they were scared to death, and some people were even scared to pee. "Don't touch me, I am very familiar with your boss's daughter. If you dare to touch me, I will definitely let you fire," Lang Bing hurriedly shouted loudly. As soon as I heard Lang Bing's words, the security guards stopped, and the front desk was a little overwhelmed for a while. Lang Bing saw that these people were fooled by himself, and he was relieved immediately, and then said arrogantly, "Your eldest Miss Sonia, we are very familiar. I originally had dinner today, I didn't want to find her for this trivial matter, but if you dare to touch me, I can make you all get out with a phone call, and now you let me go, and I will pretend that nothing happened." This time, the front desk looked at David, because they all knew the relationship between David and Sonia, but now Lang Bing said that they were familiar with Sonia, and they didn't know if it was true or not. David also frowned slightly. When he was about to ask Lang Bing, a voice suddenly came, "Do you know Miss Sua family?" Immediately afterwards, a girl walked in slowly from the door. David looked and found that it was Sonia herself. Looking coldly at Sonia who came in, she nodded and said, "Yes, and I am very familiar with your eldest Miss Sua family and often eat together." After speaking coldly, Sonia giggled, and David couldn't help laughing. It turns out that this guy Lang Bing is nonsense, and David almost believed it just now. And the other staff of the hotel all laughed. Sonia was right in front of her, and she didn't even know her, yet she dared to keep saying that she was familiar with the eldest Miss Sua family. "Shabai, do you know who is standing in front of you?" David asked Lang Bing with a mocking expression. When David asked this, Lang Bing groaned in his heart and felt a little bad. Sure enough, David then continued, "The one in front of you is the eldest Miss Sua family. Do you know if you know me?" The staff around couldn't stop laughing, and Lang Bing was embarrassed to find a crack to get in. "It's so late, what are you doing at the hotel?" David ignored the embarrassed Lang Bing, but asked Sonia. "What do you say you can do? Didn't I hear that you came to the hotel? Come to see you, you are accompanied by beautiful women, you don't know how good your life is." Sonia stared at David, with the smell of vinegar in her tone. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw Sonia and David like this, especially the cold one. He looked at David in disbelief. At this moment, he finally understood why this hotel gave David a free bill. David smiled lightly, "Are you jealous? Don't be too affectionate, the ghosts are jealous." Sonia rolled her eyes and continued, "My dad always talks about you and wants to ask you to have dinner at home. I've been busy these days, let's take 2 days." David actually shied away. All the boys present looked at David with envy, jealousy, and hatred. The eldest Miss Sua family asked to go to the house for dinner, but David actually refused? If this is to ask one of them, even if they lie on their stomachs, they will not hesitate. David turned down such an opportunity. Humph, what's there to be busy with? The big deal will let you be the chairman of the company tomorrow, so you won't be so busy. Sonia was a little unhappy when she saw that David had rejected her. "No, I don't have time to manage the company for you," David waved his hands again and again. When everyone heard David's words, they were hit hard again. Especially Lang Bing and those who just had dinner together, they all looked down on David at first, but now it seems that in front of David, they are like clowns. "Tomorrow you have to go. My dad said that it seems that Gu has dragged him to ask you out." "Maybe I have something to do with you," Sonia said in an unquestionable tone. David heard that Gu Wenchen was looking for him, probably because of the spirit pen, so he nodded and said, "Well then, I'll go there at noon tomorrow, it's almost." Sonia smiled slightly, and then looked at the cold people. Seeing Sonia looking here, everyone bowed their heads. In front of Sonia, they were like ants. "Lock them all up, if you don't have enough money, none of them are allowed to leave." Soon, those Lang Bing people were driven to the back by the security guards and locked up. Many people have begun to regret it now. If they didn't ridicule Wang Hanin in the first place, it might not have ended like this. After all, they followed Wang Hanin with no injustice and no hatred, and it wasn't because of Lang Bing and Zhang Miao. But where in the world is there anyone who sells regret medicine? It's useless for them to regret now. These people all look at Lang Bing and Zhang Miao. If it wasn't for these two people, they wouldn't offend Wang Hanan and David. Thinking of this, unable to control his emotions any longer, he violently beat Lang Bing and Zhang Miao. On the other side of David, Sonia originally wanted to send David home, but David did not agree. Sonia's luxury car was too eye-catching when it arrived in their community. Seeing David leaving in his Chang'an car, Sonia sighed helplessly. When he got home, David called Wang Hanan to report that he was safe, while Wang Hanan lived in Wu Yifan's house. She was afraid that Wu Yifan would have something to think about, so she accompanied her and comforted her. Seeing that his parents were already asleep, David sat cross-legged in his room and started to activate the heart concentrate art to absorb the surrounding spiritual energy. With the rapid operation of the heart conditioning art, the surrounding aura also began to move towards David's room. Unfortunately, there is too little aura here. The strength of the Danshan has not increased significantly, but the spiritual power in the Danshan can feel a little full. It seems that I still have to go to Pine Bay to practice. The spiritual energy here, I don't even think about breaking through in the year of the monkey. David felt the results of his one night, and felt that it was impossible to cultivate like this. Xinyu Daily Chemical Company Sales Department. Kui Ziwen was calling everyone in the sales department for a morning meeting, but David had not arrived yet. What happened to David? Why hasn't he arrived yet? Kui Ziwen asked after a glance. This sentence was asked to Wang Hanan. After all, only Wang Hanan knew why David didn't arrive. But at this time, Wang Hanan was also worried. She didn't understand why David didn't arrive. She was worried about whether something happened to David last night. She didn't tell her because she was worried. Brother David should be here soon. As Wang Hanan spoke, he took out his mobile phone and prepared to call David to ask. Remember, David was late for work and he was fined Wu Bai. He just came to the company for a few days, but he was late. Kui Ziwen said with a cold expression. Now that he has caught David's handle, of course Kui Ziwen will not let it go. Manager Kui, shouldn't David bragged yesterday that he could take down the contract of Tianmei Daily Chemical, and he was too scared to come today? Wang Lanlin laughed and said loudly. It's possible. Kui Ziwen nodded. Everyone also ridiculed David for a while, thinking that David hadn't arrived today because he was too scared to come because of his big talk yesterday. After all, Tianmei's contract is not so easy to sign, let alone David as a small salesman. Even if Kui Ziwen accompanied Sun Xiaomeng many times, the contract still hasn't been won. Impossible, brother David will definitely come, Wang Hanan retorted loudly. She believed that David would definitely come, and she would never shrink back because of Tianmei's daily chemical incident. What time is it now? I think he's too scared to come, Wang Lanlin smiled coldly. This David, whose eyes are higher than the top, has no other ability than bragging. Sun Xiaomeng also said that she hated David for a long time. Wang Hanan was anxious and called David's number. But as soon as the phone was connected, I heard a ringing sound, and David had walked into the office. David practiced so much last night that he woke up too late in the morning. Brother David, you have come, I thought you had something to do. Seeing David coming, Wang Hanan hurriedly greeted him. What can I do? It's just that I played too late last night and didn't get up, David smiled slightly. David, you are going to work now. You must have a sense of time. Now you are 10 minutes late. According to the company's regulations, you will be fined 500 yuan, Kui Ziwen said loudly to David. David has only been on duty for a few days. I am afraid that he has not earned 500 yuan in wages. He will be fined 500 yuan for being late, which is indeed quite a lot. Manager Kui, is it a bit too much to punish Wu Bai for being late once? Besides, brother David is late for the first time, so he must be given a chance. Wang Hanin pleads for David. The rules are the rules, there is nothing to talk about, Kui Ziwen sneered. Just punish it, it doesn't matter, David didn't care. Seeing that David didn't care at all, this made Kui Ziwen very angry, so he said to David, David, do you remember what you said yesterday? If you can't bring the contract of Tianmei Daily Chemical today, just get out of here. No problem. After David finished speaking, he sat directly at his workstation, ignoring Kui Ziwen. Seeing David's attitude, Kui Ziwen almost died of anger, but when he thought of David's immediate exit, Kui Ziwen's mood was much calmer. Brother David, Wu Yifan told me yesterday that one of our classmates works in Tianmei Company, and now he seems to be an office director. I'll go and find him, maybe the chances are higher, Wang Hanin followed David and said. Don't worry about it, I can handle this myself. David didn't want Wang Hanin to rush about this matter. He had already explained it to Lin Tianhu. It is estimated that Lin Tianhu has already arranged it already. Wang Hanin didn't believe that David had the ability to sign the contract of Tianmei Company. The reason why David said this was because he didn't want to worry himself. Wang Hanin didn't say anything, but silently picked up the phone and secretly called his classmate. After a while, Wang Hanin left with her bag on her back. She didn't call David. She wanted to clear up the relationship first and let David come forward, which would be easier. After taking a taxi, Wang Hanin came to the downstairs of Tianmei Company. The 10-story office building stands on the bustling streets of Horndal. In the daily chemical industry, Tianmei is also a top company. When Wang Hanin walked to the door, he was directly stopped by a security guard. What are you doing? Brother Security, I'm here to find Director Li Jian. Wang Hanin followed the security guard very politely. Our company has regulations, you need someone to pick you up before you can enter, the security guard blocked Wang Hanin and said. Seeing this, Wang Hanin could only take out his mobile phone and called his classmate Li Jian. After a while, a young man in a suit and leather shoes, his hair covered in hairspray, and wearing glasses came out. Li Jian, Wang Hanin waved at Li Jian. Li Jian walked towards Wang Hanin quickly. After seeing Li Jian, the security guard shouted respectfully, Director Li, this is my classmate, you can watch it later, she is coming to our company, don't stop her, Li Jian reprimanded the security guard. Li Jian is posing as a high-ranking official. Yes, yes, the security guard nodded again and again. Hanin, come in with me, Li Jian took Wang Hanin into the company. Bah, what? Looking at Li Jian's back, the security guard spat fiercely. Li Jian, you are doing well now, Wang Hanin said with emotion. It's normal, Li Jian smiled slightly. Entering the office, Li Jian poured a cup of coffee for Wang Hanin. Wang Hanin glanced at the luxuriously decorated office, with a bit of envy in her eyes. She was also a classmate, and everyone has now taken the position of director, and she herself has just found a job. Did no one inform you at the class reunion last night? Wang Hanin took the coffee and asked Li Jian. After all, they are all classmates, and they are still in the same city. Li Jian should not have been notified of yesterday's class reunion, not to mention that Li Jian is doing well now. Notice, I didn't go, I have a lot of things to do, how can I have so much free time? I heard that Lang Bing also went. There was a bit of disdain in Li Jian's eyes, and it could be seen that he looked down on these so-called classmates, so he didn't go to the class reunion. Hearing Li Jian mention Lang Bing, embarrassment flashed across Wang Hanin's face instantly. When he was at school, Li Jian had pursued her, but Lang Bing was very famous in the school at that time, and Wang Hanin was attracted, so he did not agree to Li Jian's pursuit. From that time on, Li Jian regarded coldness as the enemy, and he was determined to be strong. After graduating with honors, he came to work in Tianmei Company. After working hard for a few years, he took the position of office director. Lang Bing has gone too, he is now Zhang Miao's boyfriend, Wang Hanin explained. The reason why Wang Hanin followed Li Jian's explanation was that he hoped that Li Jian would not mind what happened in school before. After all, Wang Hanin now asks for him. You broke up? Li Jian asked lightly. Yeah. Wang Hanin nodded. That's cold, handsome, and rich. Why did you break up? Don't you just like how handsome and rich he is? Li Jian's tone began to contain a bit of sarcasm. Wang Hanin didn't know what to say, but he could hear the schadenfreude in Li Jian's tone. Seeing Wang Hanin like that, the smile on Li Jian's face became even stronger, and then he continued to ask Wang Hanin, what's the matter with you coming to me? I'm currently a salesman in Xinyu Company, and I hope to sign a cooperation with you Tianmei, so I hope you can help, Wang Hanin said. After listening to Wang Hanin's words, Li Jian suddenly laughed. Do you know how much our Tianmei contracts are? Each contract costs at least 10 million. Even a small salesperson like you would like to sign a cooperation agreement with our Tianmei. Isn't this a joke? I know that Tianmei's cooperation is difficult to discuss. Didn't I just come to you? You are the director of Tianmei Company, and you must have your own relationship. I hope you can help, and I will definitely not forget you after the event is completed. Wang Hanin said eagerly. She must find a way to negotiate the contracts so that David will not be fired, otherwise David will definitely be fired by that Kui Ziwan. Ha ha ha, seeing Wang Hanin's pleading appearance, Li Jian laughed frantically, and the whole person seemed to be insane, which made Wang Hanin's eyes have a bit of fear. Wang Hanin, are you begging me now? Do you remember when I pursued you, what did you say about me? At that time, there was only coldness in your eyes, and I was worse than sh.t in your eyes, but now he came to beg me. Li Jian is venting the anger that has been suppressed in his heart for many years. I can tell you the truth, now Tianmei's cooperation, I only need one sentence, our managers listen to me, but why should I help you? Wang Hanin looked embarrassed. She used to be at school, she really didn't like Li Jian, and she ignored Li Jian, but who knows now she is asking for it. If it wasn't for David, Wang Hanin really wanted to leave, she would not have come to this Li Jian. I used to be bad, I was blind, Wang Hanin lowered her head, desperately belittling herself. As long as she can sign the contract, even if she is asked to kneel, Wang Hanin will not hesitate. Seeing Wang Hanin's humble appearance, Li Jian's heart was greatly satisfied. He received a call from Wang Hanin and called Wang Hanin to the company just for this moment, to vent his emotions. Wang Hanin, I'm not embarrassing you. For the sake of us being classmates and I liked you, you just need to promise to sleep with me, and I'll take you to see the manager to sign the contract right away. Li Jian's eyes flashed with lust, and the corners of his mouth were raised high. When Wang Hanin heard this, she was stunned. She never expected that Li Jian would be such a request. Li Jian, are you still human? Wang Hanin's eyes were full of anger. Since you don't agree, there's nothing to say, you can go, Li Jian said with a cold smile. Wang Hanin really wanted to slam the door and leave, but when he thought of David, Wang Hanin didn't move. Li Jian, can you change your request and kowtow to you, even if you are a horse? Wang Hanin looked at Li Jian pleadingly. I only have this one request. If you don't agree, then you won't have to talk. I'll give you 10 minutes to think about it. If the time passes, it's useless if you want to accompany me. After Li Jian finished speaking, he walked out of the office, leaving Wang Hanin alone. Li Jian had just walked out of the office when he met a man and a woman who was still wearing a bandage on his arm. These two people are Jordan and Delia, and they are also here to discuss cooperation. Tianmei Company, the Xiao family has already talked about it. Basically it is called taking it down, and many middle-level people in Tianmei Company have eaten the benefits of the Xiao family. Seeing Jordan coming in person, Li Jian immediately ran over with a flattering expression. Mr. Xiao, I didn't expect you to come in person. In fact, Jordan, as the son of the Xiao family, certainly didn't have to come in person, but in order to humiliate David, he still rushed over with his injuries. Are the people from Xinyu Company here? Jordan asked Li Jian. Come on, it's in my office. Li Jian nodded. Here. Jordan's eyes flashed. Take me to see if there is a young man here. No, it's a girl, our classmate, who came to ask me for help, Li Jian said with a look of doubt. When he heard it was a girl, Jordan was stunned for a moment, frowning slightly. It shouldn't be, so why didn't David come? Could it be that he was afraid? Will this guy David know that he has no ability to negotiate cooperation at all, and he didn't dare to come because he was afraid of embarrassment? Delia was also a little puzzled. No, unless this guy quits his job, or he doesn't dare not listen to Xing Jun's words, Jordan shook his head and said. Li Jian listened to the two people talking, and the whole person was stunned. The Xiao family and the Sui family have always been competitors. Why did Jordan suddenly care about the Sui family today? Young Master Xiao, there's really only one girl here at Xinyu Company. She's my classmate. I left her in the office, Li Jian confirmed again. Director Li, your old classmate came to intercede. You won't let go of water, will you? Jordan looked at Li Jian and said. No, how is that possible? Tianmei must cooperate with the Xiao family. Since I took the Xiao family's money, I must do things for the Xiao family. Li Jian quickly waved his hand and said. That's good, in the future, the benefits will come from you. Jordan nodded. This time David didn't come, although Jordan was a little disappointed, but it was a good thing to win Tianmei's cooperation. But just when Jordan and Delia were about to go to the general manager's office on the roof to discuss cooperation, David's figure suddenly appeared at the door. It's just that David was stopped by the security guard and didn't let him in at all. After Jordan saw David, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he walked over with a sneer. Delia is also arrogant, holding Jordan's arm. Her eyes are full of disdain. Hey, isn't this David? I heard that he is now a salesperson and was dumped by Miss Su. He even moved out of the villa. Jordan looked at David sarcastically and said. David looked at Jordan and Delia, and felt a little surprised. Although he knew about the cooperation of Tianmei Company and the Xiao family had been negotiating, he did not expect Jordan to come over. However, seeing that Jordan's arm was still bandaged, and Delia came with him, David immediately understood that today's so-called negotiation and cooperation may be aimed at him. Jordan should have known that he was coming back in advance. Come here and wait to humiliate yourself. The Sui family and the Xiao family were originally competitors, but now Jordan actually knew in advance that he was here to discuss cooperation. That must be someone inside the company who notified Jordan in advance. Soon, a person flashed in David's mind. that is seeing June. Thinking of this, David raised his mouth slightly. Why, your arm is better? Do you want me to loosen your bones? When Jordan heard this, he was so frightened that he stepped back, but he knew David's strength. David, you don't have that tch like Sonia anymore. You're still a piece of sh. How dare you talk to Brother Lay like this, Delia reprimanded David. David's eyes narrowed slightly, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Is your mouth not brushing your teeth? It stinks. After speaking, David stepped forward and gave Delia a slap in the face. No one had time to react, and half of Delia's face was already red and swollen. Li Jian on the side was stunned when he saw that David dared to attack Delia. Who doesn't know that this Delia is Jordan's girlfriend, and David, who looks like an ordinary guy, dares to do something to Xiao Degong's girlfriend? He just doesn't want to live. Boy, you dare to do something at the door of our company, it's just the opposite. Li Jian roared, security, arrest this kid for me. Soon, 2 security guards moved towards David. Li Jian didn't realize that after David beat Delia, Jordan didn't dare to speak. He was a small company director who dared to let David do it. David turned sideways, easily dodged the 2 security guards, then looked at Li Jian and said, I'm here from Xinyu Company to discuss cooperation. Humph, our Tianmi company won't discuss cooperation with uneducated people. Besides, we have already decided to cooperate with the Xiao family, so you better get out, Li Jian snorted coldly. David frowned slightly. Are you the general manager of Tianmi Company? I'm not the manager, I'm the director of the office, but I've said everything about cooperation, you better get out, Li Jian said coldly. David, don't you just have a little bit of kung fu? Do you really think that no one can cure you? Now there is no Sonia to take care of you, let's see if I don't find someone to kill you, Jordan said with murderous intent in his eyes. David actually hit Delia in public, which is equivalent to hitting him in the face, making him very shameless. Don't kill him at once, torture him to death, it's better to kill his blind mother and father together. Delia was slapped by David, her heart was already burning with anger, she looked at David and said with gnashing teeth. When David heard that Delia actually mentioned his parents, his face suddenly became extremely gloomy, and the murderous aura on his body enveloped Delia in an instant. Delia suddenly felt cold all over, followed by a shake, so scared that she hurriedly took 2 steps back and hid behind Jordan. Jordan felt the murderous aura in David, and was so frightened that he didn't dare to speak out. And that Li Jian roared, security guard, blast him out for me, blast him away. Soon, 5 or 6 security guards came around. You, a small office director, dare to be the head of the company. After David finished speaking, he walked straight into the company. Seeing this, the security guard hurriedly shot at David. At the same time, in the top floor office of Tianmi Company, General Manager Gao Ren was walking back and forth like an ant on a hot pan. He is very nervous now. After receiving the notice from Lin Tianhu that David was coming to discuss cooperation, Gao Ren's heart couldn't calm down. At Gu Wenchen's banquet, Gao Ren also attended, so he saw with his own eyes Lin Tianhu and Gu Wenchen's respectful attitude towards David, especially David's one-kick solution to Feng Sihai, left a deep impression on Gao Ren. Impression. All the people present at the time wanted to curry favor with David, and Gao Ren was one of them. However, others were quiet and never found a chance to contact David. This time, when he heard that David actually came to discuss cooperation, Gao Ren was nervous. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He was afraid that he would offend David because of his poor reception, but this time it was also an opportunity to make friends with David, so Gao Ren must seize it. Xiao Li, hasn't the person from Xinyu company to discuss cooperation yet? Gao Ren looked at the time and asked his secretary. I don't know, I'll go down and have a look, said the secretary. Remember, the people from Xinyu company are here, be sure to invite them up, Gao Ren warned the secretary. Got it. The secretary hurried downstairs. But as soon as I walked to the lobby, I saw a lot of people gathered at the door, and several security guards were about to start around one person. Stop, what are you doing? What is it like making a fuss at the door of the company? Secretary Li angrily walked over. When Li Jian saw that the general manager's secretary was coming, he immediately waved his hand to let the security guards disperse, and then said with an apologetic smile, Secretary Li, this guy is making trouble in our company and beating people, so I called the security guard hit someone. Secretary Li looked at David and said to Li Jian, if you make trouble, hurry up and leave. We will talk about cooperation in a while, let people see what it looks like. Yes, yes, I'll let him shoot him away, Li Jian nodded again and again, waved to the security guards on both sides, and the security guards surrounded him again. Secretary Li, Jordan smiled at Secretary Li and said hello. If you want to win the cooperation of Tianmei, all the managers in the company have to manage it. Secretary Li just nodded slightly when he saw Jordan, and then asked Li Jian, have the people from Xinyu company come yet? Remember to notify President Gao immediately when they arrive. After Secretary Li finished speaking, Li Jian was stunned for a moment, then pointed to David and said, he is. When Secretary Li heard this, his expression suddenly changed. This morning, Gao Ren was worried about this matter, but she had been watching it all the time. Although she didn't know what kind of big man came from Xinyu company, she definitely couldn't be offended by seeing Gao Ren like that. Now Li Jian actually said that the person who was going to be kicked away by them was sent by Xinyu company, and Secretary Li suddenly felt a little stunned. Go away, get out of here. Seeing this, Secretary Li hurriedly stepped forward and scolded the security guards away, and then looked at David with a smile on his face and said, Sir, I am the secretary of General Manager Gao, our General Manager Gao is waiting in the office. Please follow me, come on. David nodded slightly and followed Secretary Li upstairs. When passing by that Jordan, the corner of David's mouth raised slightly, with a bit of contempt in his eyes. Looking at David's back, Li Jian and Jordan were a little stunned, they didn't understand what was going on. Director Li, didn't you tell me that the cooperation between Tianmei and our Xiao family is a certainty? Why did Gao Ren call David up? Jordan questioned Li Jian. Yes, I have already agreed with President Gao. At that time, President Gao also agreed to choose the Xiao family to cooperate. I don't know what happened. Li Jian was also confused, and he couldn't understand what was going on. I'll go up and have a look. So many people in Tianmei company have eaten my Xiao family's money. If you dare not cooperate with my Xiao family, I will let you all go around without food. After Jordan finished speaking, he walked upstairs with Delia. No one dared to stop him. Li Jian stood there with a look of panic. He took the most money from the Xiao family and was the one who worked hardest. If the cooperation is really not given to the Xiao family, wouldn't he be miserable? Thinking of this, Li Jian also followed quietly. Although he was not qualified to participate in the cooperation as an office director, it was still okay to eavesdrop on the outside. At this time, in the office on the roof, the moment Secretary Li brought David into the office, when Gao Ren saw David, he was like a fanatic fan seeing an idol. Mr. Chen, it's really you who came here, I'm so happy, sit down, Gao Ren actually pushed out his office chair and let David sit on it. Gao Ren's enthusiasm made David a little overwhelmed. Even if he had asked Lin Tianhu to greet him in advance, he wouldn't be like this. "Mr. Gao, you know me?" David asked blankly. "Of course I know. I was there at the ancient banquet. At that time, Mr. Chen's majesty was still vivid in my mind." Then Feng Sihai didn't even give the ancient face, and he was not defeated by Mr. Chen in the end. When Gao Ren mentioned that day's banquet, his heart surged. At that time, Feng Sihai brought the people from the Along gang over, and scared them all. After all, they were all businessmen, and they had never done anything. But then David came forward to settle Feng Sihai, which made them all respect David. Seeing Gao Ren mention about the banquet that day, David smiled and finally understood why Gao Ren was so enthusiastic. Knowing this, he doesn't need to bother Lin Tianhu to say hello, he can just come directly. "I'm just a salesman now, I'm just here to discuss cooperation with Mr. Gao. I don't need to mention the past," David said very modestly. I know, Gao Ren nodded again and again, and immediately said to the secretary, "Xiao Li, have you drawn up the contract you have drawn up?" "It has been drawn up." Secretary Li hurriedly took out the prepared contract. "Mr. Chen, take a look first. If you feel that the contract is inappropriate, we can change it." Gao Ren handed the contract to David. David held the contract and said without looking at it, "Don't look at it, I believe Mr. Gao, if that's the case, then we'll sign." Gao Ren hurriedly took out the pen and handed it to David. But just when David was about to sign, Jordan broke in with Delia. "Master Xiao." Seeing Jordan, Gao Ren frowned slightly. Although Jordan broke in rudely, Gao Ren didn't dare to say anything. After all, the strength of the Xiao family is not comparable to that of his Tianmei company. Although Tianmei company has done a great job in daily chemical industry, the Xiao family is an all-round development. It is a group company and involves many industries. "Mr. Gao, I'm here to discuss cooperation with you. I remember that the two of us have been talking very well. Why did you suddenly sign the contract with someone else?" Jordan's face is very cold. "Mr. Xiao, we signed the contract with Xinyu Company after much consideration. After all, we are all businessmen, and we pay attention to interests," Gao Ren explained with a smile on his face. "SHT, are you taking me for a fool?" Jordan's eyes widened. "Xinyu Company will send a small salesman, and you will sign a contract with them. Are you taking their benefits? You know I came here on behalf of the Xiao family, but I gave you enough face, you don't know what to do." Jordan was angry. He originally came to mock David, but who knew that he had become a clown? If David signed the contract away, where would his face be? Seeing Jordan say this, the smile on Gao Ren's face disappeared instantly. "Young Master Xiao, I hope you can speak more clearly. Tianmei Company is mine. I will sign with whomever I want. No matter how powerful your Xiao family is, it's still your turn to call my company." Gao Ren was no longer polite, and said coldly. Jordan was stunned for a moment. He really didn't expect that Gao Ren would dare to talk to him like this. "Are you talking to me like this?" Jordan frowned, his face turned ashen. "Believe it or not, within a month, I will let your company get out of Horndal." "Humph!" Gao Ren sneered, "Whatever, I have nothing to be afraid of." Jordan saw that threats didn't work, and there was nothing he could do for a while. General Manager Gao, General Manager Gao." At this time, Li Jian, who was eavesdropping on the outside, panicked, and hurried in. "Now our company, whether it is production or sales, I feel that it is the best choice to cooperate with the Xiao family. But also to maximize the benefits, Li Jian took advantage of the Xiao family. If the contract is not negotiated, he will spit out the money. Maybe this Jordan will stab the matter out. Li Jian, when did you start taking care of the contract? Don't forget that you're just an office director, it's not your turn to speak here, Gao Ren shouted at Li Jian. Li Jian was so frightened that he didn't dare to make a sound, so he could only stand by obediently. You so strongly recommend cooperating with the Xiao family, did you take the Xiao family's money? David asked Li Jian. Art, don't spit blood, whoever took the money, I just see your character is not good, a person's character, but can represent his company, Li Jian scolded David angrily. Gao Ren on the side was stunned, and then cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He knew who David was, but he didn't expect this Li Jian to dare to scold David. Isn't this fkuking old birthday star hanging to death? Gao Ren had always been afraid that he would offend David if he didn't serve him well. At this time, his employees dared to scold David. Fkuk, why are you talking to Mr. Chen? Kneel down for me, Gao Ren kicked Li Jian fiercely and yelled loudly. Li Jian was stunned, and looked at Gao Ren in disbelief. Gao. President Gao, he's just a salesman, you. What are you doing? Pin your mother, I fkuking make you kneel, can't you hear? Gao Ren kicked Li Jian fiercely again, and the swear words in his mouth made him terrified. If David was angry, whether it was Lin Tianhu or Gu Wenchen, even the Sui family could easily bring down his company. Li Jian was kicked fiercely on his calf, and he knelt down with a thud. Mr. Chen, it was my lax discipline that offended you. I will fire him now. As for whether he received money, I will also investigate. Gao Ren followed David in a cold sweat and apologized. Gao Ren, did you take the wrong medicine? David is just a prisoner of reform through labor. You are so low-key, and you are still the boss of such a big company. It's a fkuking shame. Jordan saw Gao Ren's respectful look to David, and his heart burst into an atmosphere, and then he said contemptuously. Gao Ren gave Jordan a cold look without explaining. Since Jordan still doesn't know David's strength, he will continue to let him jump, but Gao Ren believes that the Xiao family won't be able to jump for a few days. The Xiao family is very powerful, but if they really want to follow Lin Tianhu, Gu Wenchen and the Sui family to fight against each other, they don't have the qualifications at all. Mr. Gao, let's sign the contract, I don't want anyone to disturb, David said lightly. Understood. Gao Ren nodded, and immediately said to Secretary Li, see off the guest, if anyone insists on leaving, call the security guard immediately. Secretary Li nodded and said to Jordan, Young Master Xiao, please put. Jordan looked at Gao Ren angrily, but at this time Jordan also knew that staying on would only make himself more embarrassed, so he pulled Delia and walked out, but when he reached the door, he turned around and said, Gao Ren, wait for me, I have 10,000 ways to make. You regret it. After Jordan and Delia left, Gao Ren looked at Li Jian who was kneeling on the ground and said, get out of here too, and settle the account with you later. Where did Li Jian dare to stay, and hurriedly ran out. Li Jian, who returned to the office, was very angry for a long time. Seeing that Wang Hanin was still in the office, he immediately looked at Wang Hanin with an evil face. Wang Hanin saw that Li Jian was back, and his face was so angry that he was too scared to speak out. How are you thinking? Let me tell you, as long as you promise me, I can guarantee 100% to sign a contract with your company. Li Jian already knew that the contract was signed with Xinyu Company, that's why he made such a guarantee. Li Jian, you, Can you change your request? Wang Hanan looked embarrassed. Another request? Li Jian sneered, do you know how much the contract is worth this time? If you can sign the contract, the commission alone is beyond your imagination, and there is no problem in buying a building. Such a big deal. Interest, it's not too much to sleep with you for one night, right? If I spend money to find a chick, I can find 100 of them. Wang Hanan's face was flushed, and he bit his lip hard. Li Jian looked at Wang Hanan like that. If he wasn't in the office, he would have pounced on him now. I promise you, but you have to sign a contract first. After Wang Hanan thought for a while, he nodded and said, of course, you must sign the contract first. Li Jian raised his mouth, and then continued, I will open a room to wait for you at night, you can just wait for my call, remember to wear S3XY. Wang Hanan turned around and walked out, she couldn't listen anymore. But just as Wang Hanan turned around and walked out of Li Jian's office, he saw David coming downstairs. Brother David, Wang Hanan didn't expect David to come so quickly. Hanan, why are you here? David said slightly after seeing Wang Hanan. He said that he didn't need Wang Hanan to come, but he didn't expect Wang Hanan to come secretly. I'm here to ask my classmates for help, so it can be easier to talk about. Wang Hanan said, looking at the contract in David's hand, he was a little surprised. Brother David, did you sign the contract? Yes, it's been signed. David handed the contract to Wang Hanan. Looking at the contract, Wang Hanan frowned directly. She just promised Li Jian, how could David sign the contract so quickly? Mr. Chen, who is this? After Gao Ren saw Wang Hanan, he looked at David suspiciously. After all, he knew about David's relationship with Sonia. At that time, the two flirted with each other at the banquet, and he did not shy away from everyone. My sister, David said with a slight smile. Hanan, this is President Gao of Tianmei, the contract we just signed. David followed Wang Hanan's introduction. Hello Mr. Gao, my name is Wang Hanan. Wang Hanan hurriedly reached out and shook hands with Gao Ren. Miss Wang, did you just hear that your classmate is also in our company? Gao Ren asked Wang Hanan. Well, his name is Li Jian, the office director of your company. Wang Hanan nodded. It's him. David frowned. Brother David, do you know him? Seeing David like that, Wang Hanan asked suspiciously. Just now, Li Jian was still trying his best to prevent our cooperation with Tianmei. David said. When Wang Hanan heard this, he immediately became furious. Li Jian had been deceiving her all the time. When he thought that he was still foolishly agreeing to that Li Jian, Wang Hanan was going to die of anger. At this moment, Li Jianzheng came out of the office. When he saw that Wang Hanan was actually with David, and that Gao Ren was also beside him, he felt that something was wrong, so he ran out. Li Jian, you ba5tard, you lied to me. Seeing Li Jian, Wang Hanan yelled and chased out. When David saw this, he seemed to understand something. He rushed out with a vigorous step and brought Li Jian back directly. Wang Hanan grabbed Li Jian's hair angrily. Li Jian, didn't you say Tianmei's cooperation, you have the final say? You even want to use the contract to blackmail me, sleep with me, you are really not human. Wang Hanan was really pissed off, and beat Li Jian desperately, but Li Jian didn't dare to dodge, he could only endure Wang Hanan's torrential slap. David was exuding murderous aura all over his body at this moment. Li Jian actually used this to threaten Wang Hanan. If he hadn't signed the contract himself, wouldn't Li Jian have succeeded? After a while, Wang Hanin was tired and looked at David with tears in his eyes. "Brother David, I didn't want you to be fired, so I agreed to this BA5 tard." "Hanin, I know, it's all right." David patted Wang Hanin gently, and then looked at Li Jian with cold eyes. Feeling the cold murderous aura on David's body, Li Jian was so frightened that his whole body trembled slightly. I was wrong, I was just joking, we are old classmates, how could I do such a thing?" Li Jian desperately apologized, but the apology at this time has long been useless. "I don't want to kill people today," David finished, grabbing Li Jian's arm with one hand, and a huge spiritual force emanated from David's body, directly shattering Li Jian's entire arm. "What?" Li Jian screamed in pain. At this time, apart from the flesh, Li Jian's arm has broken bones, and there is no possibility of connecting it. "Brother David," seeing this, Wang Hanin hurriedly pulled David away. She was afraid that David would kill Li Jian for her sake. That would be a violation of the law, and she couldn't let David go to jail any longer. Looking at the worried Wang Hanin, David did not take action, but looked at Gao Ren and said, "Mr. Gao, this is your person, you can handle it yourself." Gao Ren trembled with fright, and nodded quickly, "Don't worry, I will definitely discipline you well." David left with Wang Hanin. He knew that Gao Ren would have a way to deal with that Li Jian. When David and Wang Hanin returned with the contract, the entire sales department was in a huge shock. Everyone looked at the contract to make sure it was real. Everyone looked at David in disbelief. They really couldn't understand what method David used to win the contract of Tianmei Company in such a short period of time. Kui Ziwen held the contract, his hands were shaking slightly, because only he knew the weight of this contract. As the sales manager, this contract can also bring him huge benefits. Although he hates David and wants to fire David very much, but this time David got the contract back, which really benefited him a lot. Although he was happy in his heart, Kui Ziwen tried his best to hide it, and said with an indifferent expression, "David, this time you can sign the contract, and it is also because of me and Sun Xiaomeng who have run countless times before, you don't have to be complacent. Although you passed the test this time, you don't need to be fired, but that doesn't mean you can pass the next test." After Kui Ziwen finished speaking, he put away the contract and went straight to the general manager's office. "This is a big deal for the company." "Ziwen, Ziwen," Sun Xiaomeng immediately chased after Kui Ziwen after leaving the sales department. Seeing that it was Sun Xiaomeng, Kui Ziwen stopped. "Tell me, how much can you raise for this contract?" Although Sun Xiaomeng knew that this contract could raise a lot of commissions, she still didn't know the exact amount. Kui Ziwen grinned, "Didn't you always like the house in Pine Bay? I'll show you the house tomorrow and choose a house type that you like. This contract will bring us a steady stream of wealth later in the contract. A house is fine." When Sun Xiaomeng heard this, she was so happy that she almost jumped up and said excitedly, "Really? It seems that this David is not useless. Humph, I think he's just relying on the foundation we laid before." Kui Ziwen snorted coldly, he didn't think David was responsible for this. "Yes, if we hadn't moved out earlier, how could David have signed the contract so easily?" Sun Xiaomeng also nodded quickly. "Okay, I'm going to hand over the contract to President Xing. President Xing will definitely reward me. Maybe I'll be transferred directly to the purchasing department." After Kui Ziwen finished speaking, he happily took the contract and went to the general manager's office. Because he was so happy, Kui Ziwen walked in without knocking on the door. At this time, Xing Jun was on the phone, and when he saw someone suddenly broke in, he immediately hung up the phone. Seeing that it was Kui Zaiwan, Xing Jun's face became extremely gloomy. At this time, Kui Zaiwan also knew that he was in trouble. He was so frightened that he picked up the contract and said, "Mr. Xing, we signed the contract with Tian Mei. After all, this is a big contract, maybe Xing Jun won't be angry when he hears the news." But Kui Zaiwan was wrong. When Kui Zaiwan's voice just fell, Xing Jun instantly became furious. Get out for me." Immediately afterwards, Xing Jun slammed the teacup towards Kui Zaiwan. Wow! The cup shattered in response, so frightened that Kui Zaiwan hurriedly ran out. Xing Jun gritted his teeth at the moment, gasping for breath, obviously not light. He already knew that David had successfully signed the contract with Tian Mei Company. Originally, he planned to let David be humiliated, but he did not expect that Jordan was the one who was humiliated. The phone call just now was from Jordan, and he scolded Xing Jun directly. Now Xing Jun doesn't want to stay in the Sui family, so he has contact with Jordan, and now the handle of his betrayal of the Sui family is in Jordan's hands holding it. Even if Jordan scolds him, he can only swallow it. "Zaiwan, what did President Xing say? Did you say how much the commission will be?" Seeing that Kui Zaiwan was back, Sun Xiaomeng immediately asked happily. "Tell me af.art, I don't know what happened today, you scolded me." Kui Zaiwan took the contract and returned to the office with a displeased face. Sun Xiaomeng also hurried in and comforted Kui Zaiwan. After get off work at noon, David packed up and prepared to go to Sue's house. After all, he promised Sonia that he would have a meal with Ruben at noon today. "Brother David, I signed such a big contract today. Let's celebrate together at noon. I know that there is a Western restaurant nearby that is very good." Wang Hanan found David and said happily. David was stunned for a moment, and said a little embarrassedly, "I have something to do at noon, you can eat it yourself, and we will celebrate in the evening." Seeing this, Wang Hanan was a little disappointed and said, "Well then." Seeing David walking out of the company's back, Wang Hanan always felt that she had a estrangement with David. She could not see through David, nor could she enter David's heart. David walked out of the company and wanted to drive to Chang'an, but he saw Sonia sitting in the car not far away, honking the horn constantly. David saw that Sonia came to pick him up, so he had to put away his car keys and walk towards Sonia. "You are so busy, come to pick me up in person." After David got into the car, he said with a faint smile, "I'm not afraid that you will let me, Dove. The ancients are here now. If you don't go, I will be embarrassed." After Sonia finished speaking, she kicked the accelerator and rushed out. But at this time, Wang Hanan upstairs was standing at the window and saw David got into a red luxury car, driven by a woman, but because the distance was too far, Wang Hanan could not see the woman's face clearly. Hold tightly together. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.